Keep on moving on. moving on.
Most of you are probably wondering what the heck is Brickworks and what do we do here? We basically sell bricks. We're a brick manufacturer. But we also, we're an Australian company that merged with Glengarry Brick. This studio opened in 2020, I'm sorry, 2020. So we're still trying to get everybody aware of who we are and what we do. And basically what we do in this space is have consultations, event spaces such as tonight and what's going on. And it's a space for designers and architects to come and really, instead of a brickyard, we want to have a new way of bringing designers together. So that's basically who we are and what we're trying to do. And we're the first in the US. We have a flagship store in New York City and then also in Baltimore. And we're expanding ever so much. But we do a lot of things and we invite you here. If you have any brick projects or stone projects or paved projects, come in, use our space. Whatever you can think of, we are here for the design community. I'm going to hand it over to Ross Silverman to kick off the presentation for this evening and get started.
Thanks, Mary. We're so excited to be here this year at Brickworks Design Studio for Fast Forward 2022. I'm Ross Silverman. I'm one of the directors of the Philadelphia Emerging Architects Committee of our local AIA chapter here. And we're so pleased that you all decided to join us in person for this year's Fast Forward. We're also live streaming tonight's event on YouTube, so hello to our internet audience. This is the 11th year we're putting on Fast Forward during the Design Philadelphia Festival, which is only possible to our generous sponsors. We'd like to thank Glengarry and Brickworks Design Studio in this wonderful space, Keystone Hood Structural Engineers for their continued support of our emerging professionals, and Colorspace Slabs, our videographer who has been a major part of this event for many, many years. We would also like to thank the Center for Architecture and Design, AIA Philadelphia, and Design Philadelphia for making this event possible and programming all of the festival this week and the coming weeks. We have a great lineup tonight of presenters this evening who will be addressing their idea of what's next for Philly. Each presenter is allowed 20 slides on an automatic timer for 20 seconds each, and the timer will keep moving through events, through slides, sorry. To find out more about our presenters and their ideas for Philly, you can find out, or you can read their bios and briefs at our blog, fastforwardphilly.blogspot.com. There's a QR code by the door. And without further ado, I'd like to hand it off to our first presenter.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Donaldson-Evans. I am an architect here in Philadelphia. I'm a designer, and I'm a principal at Ewing Cole. And I want to talk to you tonight about something that might not be that obvious, but it's something that I think is important for the future of Philadelphia. So I'm going to talk to you about cars a little bit. So let me sort of start back and give you a little bit of background. This 20 seconds feels really long.
Yeah, I don't think it's running.
Okay.
That's my theory.
I'm going to be all kinds of off. Let's see. Well, I always wanted to do stand-up, so maybe now's my chance. No, in all seriousness, I want to talk to you about something, and as the slides start, it'll make more sense. But something about my recent experience here as a Philadelphian and what I think it does mean. This is Fast Forward Philly, and so I treated it as a sort of a what if, a way of thinking about ideas and what the future of Philadelphia will be. But we'll wait just a second until this starts because otherwise I'll be all kinds of off. Can everybody hear me okay? I've never used a microphone before like this. Okay, great.
All right, we're just going to jump up here and adjust this PowerPoint.
Sure.
Sorry about that.
was worried about not having enough time. Didn't worry about having too much time.
Which slide are you?
The very next slide would be perfect.
I don't know which slide it was.
Oh, this one was hanging, and if you go to the very next one. Okay, so as I mentioned, my name is Andrew Donaldson-Evans. I'm an architect here in Philadelphia, and I'm going to talk to you about cars a little bit. So let me give you a little bit of a background story about why I want to talk about this. For 20 years in Philadelphia, I was essentially a pedestrian. I walked everywhere. When I couldn't walk somewhere, I took a bus, I took a bike, I used car share, Philly car share when it was called that, Uber, and that worked great, even with a move to South Philadelphia, car-obsessed South Philadelphia, where I reside now. But the pandemic happened in 2020, and in short order, I found myself borrowing a car for a week, and then a month, and then a year. And actually, courtesy of my parents, who are in the audience, they loaned it to me. Thank you very much, Mom and Dad. But at age 44, I realized I needed to grow up, and so my wife and daughter and I started car shopping, and I wanted to get an electric vehicle. I considered myself to be a somewhat sustainable architect, and that was the right move. But there are some facts working against you that make it difficult. 90% of electric vehicle owners have their own garage, and I'll translate it for you. They live in the suburbs primarily. Those that live in the city, they do have their own garage, and it's not your average Philadelphian. Philadelphia supported for about 10 years a program where you could permit your own spot in front of your house, but your house had to be 20 feet wide, or you had to get permission from your neighbors. You could have charging infrastructure. It was about $4,000 to get it installed, and after 10 years, the program was not that popular. 68 out of 2 million spaces. Unfortunately, in 2017, there was a controversial spot. I think the Inquirer was a little sensationalistic, but honestly, they weren't that far off. The rich were stealing public parking spots off the street for a pretty cheap amount, and it got killed off, right? The council killed it off. So I'm not here to lament that project, that program, although, and I'm not here to, hate on the people who did it, but the truth is, for most Philadelphians, having an electric car in a typical row house is gonna look like this, or I thought it could, and we talked about it, but it doesn't really work. If you wanted to do this, park close to your house, get a cable or a cord. It's going to take 40 to 50 hours to charge an electric car. That's just not sustainable or realistic. Somebody might steal the cable before you actually get a charge. Level 2 is what people have in their garages. And then DC fast charge, that is essentially what Tesla owners get. And it takes 30 minutes, but it's specialized infrastructure, and it's not widely available in most cities. It's in select areas. So I didn't want to spend any more of my Saturday mornings in a parking lot like this as I do with an aging row house. And it got me thinking, though, about the streetscape, because I think this is something we need to think about what the future is. The future of the street is going to require a revolution in how we think about the Philly city streets and every urban street. Because streets are a common good that belong to everybody, and if we are going to adapt to the 2035 when GM stops making internal combustion engines, we're gonna have to rethink how we use a street. Now, a lot of people will say that seems insane, right? Like, we need our cars, we need our parking spaces, et cetera. But the street has evolved over centuries, and even in 2020, in the matter of a few months, we actually took back part of our street for civic and social uses. So I think we can rethink about it again. And what I wanted to do tonight is really play kind of a what if. So I'm gonna wander around the stage for no apparent reason. And what if we take a standard Philadelphia street? I think I can't solve the problem of that guy, but that's insolvable. But I think if you take a standard Philadelphia street and you consider how we might take one-way traffic, 2 lanes of parking, and standard row houses, no garages, the first step is to put in charging infrastructure. You could combine it with lighting infrastructure that could be more sustainable, LED luminaires. You make it part of a broader program, but it's not just enough to think about doing that. I think you got to start to take down those lodgepole pine utility poles and begin to put your infrastructure underground. It's going to make it more resilient. What if you could handle ice storms? And what if you could take back some of that streetscape for more greenery? So the idea is maybe you push some trees, maybe you take a few spots, push them out into the street so that they can grow taller and help blunt the South Texas summers that Philadelphia will have in 2050. That's what we're told to expect. Now, don't tell my South Philadelphia neighbors, but we have too many cars. We don't need as many. There are 3 spots for every household here in Philadelphia. We can do with fewer, and more people are adopting alternate modes of commuting and getting around the city for daily use. I do happen to think that those sort of white bollards are not the best solution. I think that we could think outside the box on this too. We could combine it with a storm garden or a stormwater system. We will ignore the issue of trash in Philadelphia. That's also maybe intractable. But this could create a greener streetscape, and it would create a buffer so that you don't have somebody on a scooter tearing down the sidewalk, running over somebody else, and it would make them feel safer. Not just on some streets, but every street incrementally could go this direction. And finally, solar on the rooftop. We're already doing it, but it needs to be widely adopted so that we can have a decentralized renewable source of energy in Philadelphia. What happens when the sun goes down? What happens when the wind stops blowing? That's a common kind of trope among people who argue for fossil fuels, but the beauty of the electric car revolution is that they're not just things to bring power to, they're going to get power from them. It's a decentralized network of batteries, and that will help us make a much more resilient and renewable electrical infrastructure in Philadelphia if we could think outside the box. We cannot leave behind neighborhoods though, right? It's got to be equitable. And right now, the norm is that this infrastructure is privatized, right? That's why it's only in certain neighborhoods. You have what are called charging deserts. It's got to be treated as a public utility so that we can reach all people and not further the climate injustice, those neighborhoods that have increased temperatures and pollution. We need to be equitable. I don't know exactly how we do that, but I think it's by making it a utility. So what I think is that a game of what if and thinking innovatively, we can actually have a cleaner and greener Philadelphia that works for the electric vehicle revolution that's coming and makes a better streetscape to boot. Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so I guess
Start. Well, we'd have to hit this.
we're 20 seconds. Here we go. My name is Ian Smith. I'm an architect with academic experience.
And my name is Rob Fleming. I'm an academic with architecture experience.
Fun fact about me is that when I get anxious, in order to deal with my nerves, I decide to take a deep breath and do the robot.
Fun fact about me is that when I was at Woodstock at age 6, and it was not as much fun as you might think it was.
So, historic preservation is a powerful movement that reflects the desire to save cultural assets.
It's not sweet. Sustainable design is a powerful movement that seeks to protect the planet for the long-term benefit of humanity. The slides aren't moving. That's why we're all out of sync right now.
That's okay.
I am not.
More robot.
Is it going to go then? There we go.
I'll just stand here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just do that.
All right.
I can advance it too.
Okay, let me know.
Let's
So
start
cute.
this one again.
Oh, you want to start that one again?
Yep.
Okay, so historic preservation is a powerful movement that reflects the desire to save cultural assets.
And sustainable design is a powerful movement that seeks to protect the planet for the long-term benefit of humans.
What if these two powerful forces were combined? What would it look like? And what would it mean for the future of our city? Two great good things, or great things that do better together.
Now let's start with a few definitions here. Embodied energy is the sum of all the energy required to produce a building, and sequestered carbon is the process of a building capturing and storing atmospheric carbon dioxide.
Psychic energy is the stuff of our dreams, memories, and the shared experiences. Sequestering justice is the process of people being able to build intergenerational wealth.
Next one. Our forests hold trillions and trillions of metric tons of CO2. They are a valuable resource. We would never want to tear them down.
Our cities, like forests, hold billions of metric tons of embodied energy. There are a million stories in the naked city. What if we valued our invisible stories the way we valued our trees?
Next one.
As a part of our research to develop preservation sustainability, We found that all the buildings in Philadelphia have an estimated weight of 228 million metric tons, the equivalent of 228 million vehicles.
Using the well-recognized 2011 ICE database, we estimate that the embodied and sequestered carbon of 86 million tons are stored in the city of Philadelphia.
And every time a building is demolished and a new building is constructed,
Next.
our history is lost, our neighborhoods are lost, and our climate is lost.
Ian, this is a concern. We can do better, we must do better, and our very future depends upon it.
Embedded in the floors, walls, ceilings, and roofs of each Philadelphia building is a treasure trove of embodied energy and sequestered CO2.
And now we can measure how much CO2 is exactly stored in each building. This opens up an entirely new realm of possibilities that was unavailable just a few years ago.
This is a game changer. All right, so using a software platform called Tally from some people that created it in our city, right? We measured dozens of old masonry buildings with the results that were remarkably consistent. We now have the confidence in the metrics. We can now measure the value of our renovation versus building anew.
On this project, for example, we saved 145,000 kilograms of embodied energy and sequestered 77,000 kilograms of CO2.
Next, with newfound capabilities comes newly founded movements. Preservation sustainability features a holistic approach of integration across scale, linking decisions made at the building scale to the community scale and to the global scale.
It is through this integrated approach that we can begin to imagine and implement powerful solutions to the challenges that we face.
Next. Preservation sustainability unites the disciplines of historic preservation, community activism, and sustainable design.
These disciplines have always been connected, but on their own they are limited in their ability to make the changes that we see. Together, working together, their power is exponential.
And as preservationists, we are experts at understanding the past and ascribing value to cultural assets. As community activists, we live in the present moment, making tactical decisions on a daily basis.
As sustainable designers, we're experts in predicting the future and charting a strong course to fight climate change. Let's bring all this together to form a holistic and comprehensive approach to transforming our built environment.
For decades now, there has been tension between the rules for selecting windows and other details to conform to an overly rigid, conservative approach to the sense of what constitutes historic.
Given the dual threats of social inequity and climate change, we must begin to come to terms with the elitist definition of historic preservation and replace it with a more inclusive contemporary understanding. Why is this building on the right historically certifiable and the other buildings on the left are not, Ian?
Well, if we agree that preserving buildings writ large is in the best interest of our communities and our future climate, can we find a way to chart a new, more inclusive pathway to historic preservation? All right. So the house on the left is where Paul Robeson spent his retirement years. The house on the right is where real people live with real lives and real histories. Shouldn't that effort be acknowledged and celebrated as well?
In other words, all buildings have histories, and all people that lived in those buildings have histories as well. Together, they shape our reality in a myriad of ways. Can these buildings become economic hubs for nearby population again? What if these economic centers, these existing buildings, became economic innovators?
Well, these old masonry structures were once catalysts of economic growth and income for industrial workers. In the post-industrial age, all of these structures were abandoned, leading to urban blight. The tension between real estate development and preservation is very real and very high. Chinatown is constantly under threat. The construction of I-676 split the Chinatown neighborhood in half, creating a no man's land around Vine Street.
Preservation sustainability views the problem through three lenses simultaneously and opens the door for new and powerful solutions to intractable problems.
Now I have a question. Is this scalable? I'm not entirely sure without tremendous subsidy. Isn't this just another form of sustainable elitism?
Ian, this is a wonderful, net positive living building challenge project at Georgia Tech. It is an exemplary building and it sets a high bar for for other universities to meet ambitious sustainability goals, but we question today whether it's elitist in nature. Next slide. The house on the right reflects how we imagine green design, a virtue signal for the wealthy. These buildings are few and far between, like a green unicorn.
And the houses on the left support a lifestyle that has a much lower environmental impact. And there are thousands and thousands of these houses. And we ignore them every day, and they are invisible to our culture.
When we improve the assets owned by people in the community, we fight for climate change by reducing operational carbon and by preserving the embodied energy carbon of these existing structures.
Next.
So as we wrap up our presentation, we want to give a special thanks to Jesse Allen, Survey Candaria, and Talsia Brown, students and workers that worked on this presentation with us.
Well, thank you for Fast Forward Philadelphia, and visit the website to request a copy of the Preservation Sustainability White Paper, see job openings, because we are hiring, and see our design work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to me. Thank you. After you. Yeah.
Great. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Tricia Maloney, and I am here this evening to speak with you all about art. I'm going to tell you a little bit about a group of people in Philadelphia who are pioneering a new, interesting, unique way to look at art and to be impacted by art and maybe even to acquire some art. In order for me to be able to best do that, we need to first start by answering the question, what is Fiddler Club? Fiddler Club is an urban social club here in Philadelphia. It opened in 2019. It is comprised of dining, social, lounge, fitness spaces. We also have a co-working space that I'm going to talk a little bit more about later. We call it Offsite. So here you see the original ad campaign for Fiddler Club. We have folks bowling, visiting a spa, getting ready to dive into a swimming pool, all things that weren't yet developed. But the club opened in 2019, and we're a success. We have a club, and we've got members, and they're using the club on a daily basis, including a 14-room boutique hotel, again, dining spaces. But we felt like something was missing. So, okay. Thank you. Enter Michael Foreman. Michael Foreman is chairman and CEO of FS Investments in Philadelphia. He's also co-founder of Fiddler Club and a contemporary art collector. He and his wife Jennifer collect contemporary art. So once they have seen Fiddler Club in action, they say, you know what, this place is great, but we're going to make it even better. We're going to install artwork from our personal collection for the enjoyment and the enhancement of the experience of being at the club. And so that's just what we did. I've worked for Michael and Jennifer for 12 years, helping to manage their art collection, so I was involved in that project. And you'll see some of the artists we have at the club: Adam Pendleton, Joe Bradley, Alex Katz. All right, so are you just waiting for me to cue you, or is it? Okay, got it. Yeah. It's not working. Okay, understood. So we've got, helpful to know, we've got Adam Pendleton, Joe Bradley in the center, Alex Katz series there. And so everybody who's coming to the club is asking, wow, like the art here is great. I want to learn more about it. It's so amazing. And we start to ask ourselves, holy cow, are we an art club? It was just that big of a presence in the space when you were there, not something that any of us ever really anticipated as the club was being developed. And so I start to ask myself, holy cow, am I an art curator? And the answer is no. The answer is no, I'm not. I have great respect for people who are actual curators and have put in the work and gotten the education in order to be able to call themselves that. But I did find myself running the art programming at the club and doing the signage and managing all the installations and all of that good stuff. And super fun, great opportunity. You can advance. I mentioned Offsite earlier. Offsite is the co-working space of the club. It's got a footprint of 25,000 square feet. And as the club was being developed, what we heard from our members, our potential members, was we really want a place to work. So we start developing this offsite space, and we think, what can we do that's different with the arts in offsite versus what we did in the club? And so we come up with this crazy idea. You can advance. The Artist in Residence program is born. It is Michael Foreman's idea. Give credit where it's due. He said, we'll work with local Philadelphia artists. We'll invite them to loan their works to the club in exchange for a membership and a dues-free membership and a small stipend. While the works are in our possession, we're going to take great care of them. We're going to make them look great, and we're going to get the artists exposure to the community at Fiddler Club. We're going to try to help them sell their artworks. We refer to ourselves as a non-traditional gallery. Fiddler Club does not take any commissions. You can advance. So some of the artists that have joined us since we started this project: Jane Irish, Place Gabriel, amongst many, many others. New emerging artists, some Philadelphia icons. There's one of our cohorts of artists, and something that's really important about this program, not only to its success, but also to like the essence of what it is the access. So the artists have access to the Fiddler Club community. The Fiddler Club community has access to the artists. So you get to really meet, learn about, spend time with artists whose work you might be interested in acquiring. And particularly during COVID, we used a digital campaign to help provide that access. We called it Access to Artists in Residence. We would send monthly emails to our membership highlighting different artists and their works that were for sale, or just really anything that was going on in the arts community at the club. So our first collection was a great success. We decided, let's do it again, but better. And when we did our second collection of Artists in Residence, we used an application process to attract people to apply. We wanted to expand what the program could be and who it could be for. So we didn't just want it to be artists who we had invited. So we had 96 artists apply for our second collection. We ultimately selected 17 of those artists. And so we've really got momentum now. And we hear from Jane Golden, the founder and CEO of Mural Arts. She says, Mural Arts wants in, I've got this great Philadelphia Fellowship for Black Artists program, and I think those artists should be part of your Artist in Residence program too. And we said, great. So we now have 5 young Philadelphia artists whose works are cutting edge and interesting and vibrant, and have added so much to what we had already felt really great about. So here's Robert Carter, one of those artists from Mural Arts, in front of his beautiful digital print Yuvu Milivu. Quick anecdote about Robert is that he was a member service associate at Fiddler Club prior to COVID, and he has now moved on, graduated from that role, and is a working artist here in Philadelphia and has a piece of his installed at the club. Next, we hear from Pace Gallery. Pace Gallery wants in too. Pace Gallery is one of the largest art galleries in the world. Michael Foreman is a patron of Pace. He has a good relationship with them. They're super invested in the digital art space, and they reached out to us and they said, we want to work with you, collaborate with you to expose the Philadelphia community to digital arts. So we said, great, we're in. So we now have works on loan from Pace from a collective called Team Lab, Leo Villarreal, Mikhail Robner, really, really interesting artists who are expanding the boundaries of what can be accomplished with art. Again, everybody wants to talk about the art, they want to learn about it, so we try to provide as many opportunities for that to take place in the club as possible. Here you see a photograph of an intro to collecting art talk, moderated by Tom Collins. He's joined by Sarah McCorston, co-owner of Paradigm Gallery, Sean Theodore, one of our artists in residence, as well as Michael Foreman. And it really has become like one of the most present aspects of being a member or a guest at Fiddler Club, and we're not stopping. We have got our Collection 3.0 forthcoming in January 2023, and we are interested in hearing from anyone in the visual arts who would be interested in applying for our third rotation, our third cohort. So, please feel free to keep it in mind if you're an artist yourself or if you happen to know anyone. We would love to hear from you. And so now we come back to this question of, holy cow, are we an art club? And the answer is, yeah, we are. We are an art club if you want us to be. We've got art around every corner in our fitness center, our hotel rooms, to the extent that you want to get involved in it, if you're part of the Fittler Club community, or even if you aren't, we host tours for really anyone and everyone who's interested in learning. So yeah, we are an art club if you want us to be. And if you're interested in learning more, feel free to follow us at fittlerclub.com or on Instagram at fittlerclub. And in closing, just support local artists. Wherever you are, whatever you do, however you consume art, to the extent that you can be supportive of the Philadelphia art ecosystem, I encourage you to do so. It will be as rewarding for you as it is for the artist, I promise you. Thank you so much.
We can like just advance ourselves if you want. Just click down. Okay. Okay. Oh, you want to be at the podium?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you need a place for your. Okay, I'm clicking. So I'm clicking down.
So you're clicking. You're clicking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
so-
thanks, Drew.
Okay, here we go. Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm an architect.
And I'm Angela. I'm a sustainability consultant.
We work at Revision Architecture. In our work, we hear a lot about decarbonization, moving away from fossil fuels and using renewable sources for our electricity needs. While that's an important strategy, it's not how it's only part of how we're going to save ourselves from climate change. In this image, blue stripes indicate a below average temperature globally over the last 120 years. Red is above average, part of a warming trend set to exceed the 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature rise that the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has warned us has potentially dire consequences. This is from carbon in the atmosphere.
Okay, so let's start with the big picture of carbon. Let's throw it back, way back. So we'll do this by talking about the Earth's evolution using the biblical reference of the 7 days of creation. So as we walk through this, note that each day represents about 750 million years. And also as a reminder, Earth is what is called a closed loop system. So everything we had back then, we have today. So a very brief history of the Earth looks something like this. No text. I can narrate. Day 1, Earth is created. Day 2, the first signs of life appear on Earth. Day 3, we have a couple more life forms, but they're all in the sea. On day 4, plants finally thrive on Earth's surface. And then on day 5, our treasured ozone layer forms, allowing life to move from sea to land. Day 6 gets very busy, and then we humans come into the picture at 11:59:54. And then at 11:59:59 on Saturday night, humans start doing this not so smart thing of burning fossil fuels. But honestly, like in humankind's defense, who hasn't done something not so smart late on Saturday night? I mean, definitely not me, but.
So the carbon cycle that we learned about in chemistry class is carbon moving from the atmosphere to the ground or the water and back. We have broken this cycle. We have overcharged the atmosphere with carbon faster than the planet can put it back below the surface, causing climate change and toxification of the biosphere. Problematic airborne carbon is carbon in the wrong place, at the wrong dose, for the wrong duration. Carbon is a beneficial resource, just in the wrong place at the wrong time, like some people at 11:59 on a Saturday night.
Come on.
So we need carbon in our atmosphere, some carbon, but like going out on a Saturday night, you have to find the right balance of choices or you'll regret them in the future.
So when talking about carbon, it's important to understand CO2 equivalent. Carbon dioxide isn't the only thing we're worried about, it's just our baseline. So different gases have different global warming potentials, right? There are lots of gases that have higher global warming potentials. And they're in everyday things like livestock, natural gas, our heat pumps, and our electrical infrastructure.
All right, with chemistry and history behind us, let's move on to English. Carbon and its equivalents in excess in our atmosphere are the problem. And there's a big push right now to decarbonize our buildings. And when we look at the root of that word, we're a little suspect. Carbonization is the formation of carbon from organic matter, and the prefix -d undoes that. So does this mean that we're undoing the formation of carbon from exactly the type and the form that we want it to increase as part of the carbon cycle? So we're at revision. We like the prefix re, and here's why. You change one letter, we change a meaning. We go from D to re, to returning to again. So what would you rather do, de-roof or re-roof? So this brings us to our thesis, recarbonization. What we're trying to do is go back to that previous state of carbon before we started burning fossil fuels. We want to take the dinosaurs out of the sky and put them back underground. And so here is how we're going to recarbonize our planet.
Okay, so first we need to identify the 3 buckets that carbon falls into to understand how we address each. So let's start with the first bucket, embodied carbon. This is the carbon it takes to make our stuff, buildings in this specific example. So digging up iron ore from steel, crushing and cooking stone for concrete, transporting lumber to sawmills, it takes a lot of carbon. That said, we inherit a lot of carbon debt just by building our buildings. 21% of the total global emissions are from concrete and steel, and that's what we build a lot of our buildings out of. So valuing and reusing our existing buildings is hugely impactful. Coupling that with low carbon alternatives and legislation to impose embodied carbon limits really helps us get out of this carbon debt.
Operating our buildings, or cars or bicycles, takes energy. It might be from oatmeal, it might be from natural gas, but every time you ask equipment to work, you need an energy input. When we use fossil fuels for energy, we send carbon that was stored in the ground up into the atmosphere, the opposite of our attempts to recarbonize. So how can we decouple the energy to operate our buildings from the carbon cycle? In order to be able to operate our buildings completely without fossil fuels, we have to design them to run only on electricity, no combustion. And we have to be able to generate that electricity ourselves. So to do that effectively, we first have to design our buildings to operate as efficiently as possible, and then we generate an optimized amount of energy using solar, wind, or other renewables.
Okay, so moving on to our third and final bucket, you guys made it, sequestered carbon. So this is the carbon that our stuff is storing or capturing. That's right, so taking carbon in, right? We know that we have a surplus of carbon floating around in all of the wrong places currently, and sequestration is really key to balancing our carbon equation in a sustainable way. So what sequesters carbon? Trees and vegetation. Healthy, diverse meadows literally sequester tons of carbon per year. Technology is also helping us make it possible to store things in materials from concrete to carpet. So in any case, finding the most active ways to sequester carbon in our built environment is a balancing act must.
So when we add up these 3 carbon buckets to get to net zero, most carbon modeling tools look at a 30-year period to get to 0 carbon for a building project. We know that is too long. Those warming stripes are warning stripes. We see the trend happening now. We have to act now.
So we get to day 7. Unfortunately, it's not a day for rest. It's time to get to work because we have a lot of work to do.
Oh, we have a 7-step plan that we can get to work on day 7. Step 1, no more fossil fuels, period. We have to stop putting dinosaurs in the sky. Step 2, we have to reduce our energy demand. And I'm not sure if this is going to work. Okay, yeah, there we go.
I gotcha.
Reduce our energy demand, and then we operate only with renewables. We have to reuse our existing carbon to extend the benefit of the carbon that's already been spent. If we must build new, it must be low carbon. We have to look to our landscapes, hello architects, to sequester carbon and help us save us from ourselves. And lastly, we have to start each project with a recarbonization plan. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. Good job. Good job. All right, where are the friendly faces in the room? Let me find a couple back there. Okay. All right, here we go. All right. Hello, my name is Damon McWhite. I'm the program manager for One Philadelphia. We live in a city of many firsts, the first public library, the first hospital, and even the first computer. We're also the city known for putting the group before the individual. One Philadelphia is a coalition of stakeholders working together to make Philadelphia the capital of equitable tech and innovation. Oh, now it's working. All right, cool. So we are all aware of the economic disparity that affects the residents of Philadelphia. We see it every day. In a city filled with so much opportunity and growth, there's a lack of socioeconomic equity for underrepresented Philadelphians, especially those in our Black and brown communities. Oh, now it doesn't work. Okay, there we go. Yeah. The inequity is driven by a number of factors. One Philadelphia has identified 3 primary areas of concern: the inability for underrepresented groups to gain access to high income and high growth opportunities, a concentration of underrepresented groups in low income careers and educational programs that with low return on investment, and a lack of coordinated response by the very programs that could help them. What do we mean by underrepresented? It should come of no surprise that many of the same groups who lack access to high paying jobs in every high growth industry are also affected in the fields of technology. The One Philadelphia initiative was made possible through a partnership led by Coded by Kids with Comcast NBC Universal, Bank of America, and the Linfest Foundation. Our goal, to increase equity in tech for underrepresented Philadelphians. How do we plan to do this? One Philadelphia was created to meet these 5 needs: building critical partnerships, raising awareness amongst residents, creating infrastructure for partnerships, launching new programs, providing actionable research. Step 1, building critical partnerships. One Philadelphia seeks to be the connective tissue that brings together existing organizations, initiatives, and programs. By connecting funders and employers with organizations focused on increasing equity, we want to improve outcomes for underrepresented Philadelphians. In addition to our foundational partners, One Philadelphia is working with organizations including Red Nose Day, Penn Mutual, and other organizations to get financial support to many of the great programs in our city that are focused on underrepresented groups. These organizations are doing great work, and One Philadelphia wants to make sure everyone knows about it. Step 2, raising awareness amongst residents. One Philadelphia is employing a multifaceted approach to get the message to the community. In addition to our direct marketing campaigns and community outreach, we are also using live events and local initiatives to get our residents familiar with the opportunities that exist in technology. One of the examples of how we're doing this is our upcoming Innovation Weekend. The weekend consists of virtual and in-person events to engage the tech community of Philadelphia. We have a pitch competition for underrepresented entrepreneurs, an innovation bowl for students to compete for $5,000, and we are capping the weekend off with our Innovation Awards, where we will be honoring local tech-based nonprofit organizations and contribute to the Philadelphia tech scene. Step 3, supporting partnerships. One Philadelphia is creating the technical infrastructure to encourage a collective win as opposed to individual program success. We are creating an ecosystem to not only track, but to improve outcomes for all of our organizations. The mantra is we, not me. Step 4, launching new programs. One Philadelphia is committed to identifying emerging organizations that can contribute to our promise of making Philadelphia the capital of tech and innovation through open pitch competitions and the One Philadelphia grant opportunities. We want to make it easier to get resources to the groups doing the work. The One Philadelphia grant was designed to streamline the grant application process to encourage organizations that serve underrepresented groups to apply. We will be awarding grants ranging from $5,000 to $75,000 to nonprofit organizations working with underrepresented groups. Those grantees will be honored at the Innovation Awards on November 19th. Step 5, providing actionable research. We want to drive change to inform policies and create an environment that supports equitable innovation. By bringing these great programs into a supportive ecosystem, we can identify what works and what doesn't. This information can be used when working with local institutions. We can really dig in and identify the best programming that will increase access to tech for underrepresented groups. This information could then be transferred to our classrooms to further prepare the future of Philadelphia. So what does that look like in terms of success? Success is the Benjamin Franklin High School grad that goes from delivering packages for Amazon to managing tech projects for GoPuff. Success is the Temple University grad who has 5 software development offers before they even walk across the stage. Success is the military veteran who turns teaching kids how to code on the weekend into a fully funded nonprofit organization. This has real world impact for underrepresented Philadelphians. We're diversifying the tech talent pool, increasing socioeconomic equity, and setting those Philadelphians up for future success that will survive automation. Now our project manager for GoPuff becomes the director of project management. Our software developer is not only managing his department, but he's also back at Temple teaching others. And our military vet is able to hire those very same kids he taught code to on the weekend to develop websites for clients and other nonprofit organizations. The result is more leadership positions, building high growth companies, and ultimately generational wealth. So how can you get involved? First step is to go to onephl.org inside our One Philadelphia Membership Initiative pledge. Also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at OnePHLTech. Attend events and get the word out to your community, your neighborhood, your Philadelphia. Lastly, being the city of so many firsts, it is our responsibility to set the lead for others to follow by creating a city of equitable tech and innovation. This cannot be achieved individually. Such a task requires us to do what we do better than any city in America. We must come together as one Philadelphia. Thanks again.
Hi everyone, my name is Katrina.
I'm Ramune Bartuskaite, and we're with 15 Architecture and Design.
So you ask, what's next for Philly? Well, our response is design that prioritizes health and well-being. 15, along with its partners, is focusing the conversation on what health and well-being looks like for the future of Philadelphia. Our goal is to inspire you to rethink the way that design can have a holistic approach on our physical and mental health. Why is it important? Because our environments are stressful. Take our urban life, traffic, people, noise. It can be overwhelming and not give us the reprieve that nature provides. So it leaves us wondering, do our environments really give our mind, body, and spirit what they need? 1 out of 5 adults in Philadelphia have been diagnosed with mental health conditions. The COVID-19 pandemic made our communities more aware of the importance of our mental health. With this shared awareness, we see a call to action and believe a design community can respond.
Buildings have a tremendous impact on our health and well-being as we spend 90% of our lives indoors. Health institutions are raising red flags about the toxicity of building materials. Our bodies can only absorb a fixed amount of toxins in our lifetimes. We must take precaution as more and more untested chemicals are introduced into the market every day. We have an amazing opportunity to foster more resilient communities through the design of inclusive spaces. Living in a globalized city, we must challenge ourselves to build environments that celebrate our differences while highlighting the commonalities that unite us. We all yearn to feel part of a larger community, a city which we're proud to work in, live in, and contribute to.
Okay. In our office, we approach these issues like any other design problem. We start by defining the problem, breaking it down, and discovering what tools we already implement and how they support a holistic design approach focused on health and well-being. The first focus how we humanize our projects. Studying our user's journey allows us to see architecture through the human perspective and emotions. Some users face different challenges, and with experienced professional psychologists, we can learn how color, textures, and visibility influence the way buildings present themselves. Sometimes it's about the found spaces within our projects. We look for opportunities to introduce program elements outside of what's required and provide our users with an emotion they're missing. Sometimes it's a space that invokes excitement, or sometimes it's a space that provides respite and retreat from their work environment.
Our healthier materials process carefully responds to each individual client and project. We consider project needs, we then establish priorities to see where we can have the most impact, and then we apply a combination of tools such as healthier material databases, green building standards and certifications, or commit to requesting transparency documentation to build a market demand for healthier options. How do these design strategies manifest into health and wellness focused spaces? In the following slides, we'll offer examples addressing health through the lens of the mind, body, and spirit. The PHMC campus at 4601 Market brings together multiple community-focused tenants under one roof with shared amenities and curated opportunities for interaction. Tenants housed at this campus are part of a larger mission, a greater community health network. The campus is their refuge, a home base, a place to reconnect with each other and be re-inspired. At this campus, we were careful to address everyday anxieties such as navigating unfamiliar environments. The Link, a reimagined navigation station, offers digital resources but also serves as a touch point with a welcoming, friendly face. At the same time, it allows for independence if you struggle with social anxiety and prefer the digital route.
At Rowan University, the dance program expansion, the mind, body, and spirit were all considered in our design approach. In the image on the left, you can see in the background a space that was very much designed as a found space. Its intention is to be a place of respite for the students and faculty to pause and prepare themselves before entering the dance studios. The PHMC Healthcare Campus on Cedar is not just a place for physical healing, but a place to support the mind of the staff and the spirit of the community. A redeveloped courtyard and new entrance opens itself to the street and connects the public to community resources. Programmatic spaces, like the Multi-Faith Center, provides its staff and visitors a quiet space for contemplation or prayer. Our next step and challenge to everyone in this room is to take this thinking into our larger community. We see great strides being taken in Philadelphia that start to test many of these topics, and we want to push it further for all Philadelphians. So we ask you, imagine a future where design better serves all Philadelphians' health and well-being. Imagine a future where the norm for public green spaces took full advantage of nature's healing effects by introducing native planting and interactive landscapes. Green spaces like these provide our children with the developmental opportunities they need and allow everyone to connect with nature and de-stress. Imagine a future where silent spaces were designed within urban areas, providing us with respite from the congestion between buildings. If we allow private corporations into our public spaces, then what if they provide us with spaces back? A calming place that is truly for everyone and allows us to retreat if in a mental health crisis or escape for a few minutes.
Imagine a future where placemaking excites us and connects us as a community, where opportunities for neighbor get-togethers are provided for every resident, not just those in areas of privilege, where neighbors are encouraged to leave a mark on the places that they live and feel proud of their communities. Imagine a future with affordable housing that is built with healthier materials, where all residents, no matter their income, can afford to live in non-toxic spaces that will serve and protect their families and children. While rethinking the way we build, we must also consider existing housing stock. Can we address maintenance and improve existing homes through more thoughtful renovations? We acknowledge the many projects that have made Philadelphia the city that we cherish, but we see a future where healthy buildings and communities are the norm, not the exception. We need all of you to participate and prioritize health in your own work in order to achieve this goal. Health and well-being of building occupants is undoubtedly our responsibility as architects and designers. We must help our city heal and collectively move forward toward a healthier future. Thank you.
We'd like to thank all of our presenters for sharing their big ideas. Please feel free to continue the conversation during our open reception. And once again, our gratitude to our event sponsors, Glengarry Brickworks, Keystone Hood, Colorspace Labs, and AIA Philadelphia for their support of the city's emerging professionals. We would also like to thank our team of great volunteers. If you have an idea that you'd like to share of what's next for Philly on a future Fast Forward, please let us know. We will be posting tonight's recordings and look out for next year's call for presenters. There's also a survey on our blog if you'd like to fill it out for suggestions for next year. And if you're interested in learning more about the Philadelphia Emerging Architects,